Becoming a successful professional speaker is a journey. How do you find that first stage, the next stage, and then the bigger and better stages? I'm Lee Hayes, your host. My co-hosts and I are here to guide you to a more successful speaking career. You're listening to Path to the Main Stage podcast. Hey everybody, welcome to Path to the Main Stage podcast. I have a guest today, or a co-host, I should say, who is going to bring knowledge to so many of you who want to be coaches. I hear this all the time. I want to be a coach, therefore I speak, or I speak, and now I want to spread my knowledge through coaching. Well, I've got your guy. He's going to help us out. So, James Allen is the founder of Profit Your Knowledge. He helps online coaches earn more money, work fewer hours. Hello, I'm in. And ultimately live a meaningful and more impactful life. So it's not about the quick buck. It's about the long-term fulfillment and meaning. And oh, by the way, you can get paid in the meantime. So welcome so much, James. I appreciate you joining today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Lee. I just had you on my podcast and now we're here. So this is super cool.
Yeah, so everybody, when you're done here, go check out Profit Your Knowledge and you'll get to see us again. But from different standpoints, different topics. So here's where I'd love to start, James. Most online advice says you've got to create a funnel, right? You need a funnel. You need to bang out email every day. You need an online course. You need an ebook. Like, you need stuff. And then when I met you and read about your program, you said you don't need stuff. What do you need? How can people be effective coaches, make money in this crazy business without all this stuff, without creating tens of $1,000s worth of collateral?
Yeah. That stuff looks really cool. And at a certain point, it does become important to have a good funnel and stuff like that. But I genuinely believe that in order to get to 100K, 10K a month or something, you can do it with your phone or a Zoom meeting and Calendly or Acuity, whatever calendar booking tool you want to use. That is really all you need. Or free Instagram account or YouTube, free tools. You do not need to spend a bunch of money on that stuff. What you really need is to have real expertise in something. Not that you need to be at the top of the mountain or be the all-knowing guru. That's a big thing people think. And many people just underplay the expertise that they have. But some kind of problem that you've solved in your life, and we can unpack a framework that I have for this too, and that people are willing to pay for to solve in their own life. And if you've done it, you're like, hey, I can help you do that. That's kind of how I started Profit Your Knowledge. I was a productivity coach and I was making sales with courses. And I learned about marketing and I was making passive income because I was a productivity coach. I wanted to work less and grow my business and be efficient. I love it. And it's still who I am today. But when I started to do that, I wasn't making millions or even multiple six figures or anything. But some of my clients for productivity work were coaches. They were experts. They had expertise and they were like, I want to build a course. You're doing it. And I'm like, I'm making a couple thousand a month. And they're like, that's better than me. I was like, okay, I'll try and help you. And then they started making money doing the things that I did. So you don't need to be at the top of the mountain. You just need to be a little bit more experienced than someone else. And as you get better, you can help even more people. So that's really all you need to be able to impact people on a stage or in your content and things like that. As long as you have a thing that you've actually done that transformed your life and that you're willing to help other people implement or fix that in their own life, you can solve a problem and you can communicate that clearly and you're willing to actually charge money for it, then yeah, you can totally make a six-figure income and work around 20 hours a week.
All right, so let's start by being real here, that this podcast is not about how to make your first billion in 5 minutes, because it's just not going to happen. And I love that you are real about that it's, if we can make a few $1,000s a month starting this new thing, that's a win for the normal person out there. Very few people will become billionaires overnight. And I know you've run into them, right? I know you've worked with the founder of Siri and Alexa and all that. And I understand if you have this genius idea that can explode into millions and billions of dollars. But most of my listeners, I think, are sort of normal people who have one thing that they're really good at or great knowledge they can share. And you just said you can help us unpack it. So I think that would be a great place to start, because you need that as a speaker as well, is how do I figure out what my thing is and if it's good enough?
Yeah. Quick caveat. I have not worked with the creator of Siri, but he was on my podcast and I've developed a relationship with him. So I just want everyone to be clear about that. That'd be pretty cool, but no, he's awesome. Kevin Sarace is his name. So anyway, yeah. So this is a framework that I've developed. I call it the income intersection, and I can't draw this out right now, but I just got a new tablet to be able to draw out my frameworks. I'm super excited. My pen and keyboard, which I thought would come with it, are coming in today. So I'm going to be doodling like a madman pretty soon. But for visual representation, people on the podcast, if you think about three circles that are overlapping each other, like a Venn diagram, that's kind of the image that I want you to think about. When we can match all three of these circles together, and we get these three components together, that's when you know that you have something that you're good at, you have expertise with, and that people would actually pay you for. And then we're going to combine it into a simple short sentence.
And so what are those three different areas that we're looking at? We're
going to unpack it. So the first one is first, like, if you think about this thing that you want to be an expert in, let's say in my case, like I want to be an expert at helping people build a 6-figure business. That's what I do. Do I have experience with that? Yeah. I've made 6 figures in my coaching business. I was a kid in construction work who I didn't have a marketing degree. I didn't do any of that stuff. I was in construction. And at 22, I left my job to become a spiritual life coach. And I spent years, it took me like 5 years to hit 6 figures. So I went through the ringer and stayed up late at night and was stressed on how the heck do I do this? How do I make money? And like, I could have grinded myself to a pulp and worked 80-hour weeks. I was working like 60-hour weeks for a while, but I still wasn't making money. And then I realized there's a few things that we can work on that help us generate more income. And if I just focus on those few things, I can work less and make more money. So I was obsessed with how do I do it in 20 hours a week? And I gave myself 20 hours a week and said, figure it out, James. And I did. So I've been able to do this thing. That's really important. If you want to be an expert, you want to speak on stages or make content or have people hire you, and you're not doing the thing or haven't done the thing that you claim you have done, then you're going to deal with a lot of imposter syndrome and you're going to doubt yourself. And then people are going to feel that, and it's going to be really hard to sell something. You know what I mean? It was hard for me when I was going into the Profit Your Knowledge stuff, because like selling courses, I was able to do it, but I was like, I don't know if I can help other people. So I just kind of added it on with my clients. And as they got results, I became more confident. I was like, wait, I can do this. This is fun. Then I went into it. So yes, you have to have experience with it. That's our first hoop. The second hoop is, are people actively paying to either figure this thing out, like learn a skill, or solve this problem? Is it proven? Is it a real thing? Building a coaching business? Yeah. There's a lot of people, you're listening to this podcast, you're like, I want to coach people. It's a business. You know, people want to get into this and they know it's a thing and they see people doing it. And I've had many clients who are like, I don't know, I got this thing I'm good at, but how do I make money with it? And then they hire me and then I help them do it. So I know with my income intersection that I have experience with it, and people are paying to do this thing. If you are, let's say, a man over 40 and you are lean, you are fit, but you used to be really out of shape, and now it's like you're not going to get out of shape again because you've developed a process or a system for your life to keep you fit. So you have experience with it. Are people actively like paying to learn how to do that? Is there money going into this industry? Yeah. People are buying, what is it? GLP-1s. Like there's an epidemic with it. It's insane. People put so much money into losing weight, into looking better, for better or worse. Okay. But there's money behind it. And it's good to look, if you're like, I don't really know about my thing. Are there communities? Is there forums online? Do people go to conferences about this topic? If it's like podcasting, yeah, there's a huge one called Podfest every year that they do it. So that's what you really want to see to make sure that there's proof behind this idea. And then the last one, which I think is really important, is do you find joy in helping people with this thing? I've had a lot of people come to me and be like, yeah, James, like, here's my thing. Do you think it'll make me money? And I'm like, maybe. Like, yeah, anything can make money for the most part, but do you want to teach people that? Do you find joy? Does it light you up helping people with this thing? I had a client one time who went into the niche of helping men just like be better men, increase like testosterone and masculinity and stuff like that. And he was like, I really want to do this. So we actually started getting him into conversations. He had experience with this stuff and was a role model to people. And there's a ton of money behind men's groups and things like that. But when he started working with these men, he quickly realized, like, I don't want to work with these guys, because he actually did the work. And that's why you shouldn't go build a giant funnel. You can make money just by talking to people and having a good offer and then presenting the offer to people. And then you get to see the demand or see the response from people. So if you are going to pursue this thing, you have experience with it. You also know that people are paying money to try and figure this stuff out. Good idea there too, is like, have you put money into figuring it out? I've put so much money into trying to grow my business. Like, yeah. So I know people are spending money here. And I love helping people. I love seeing people get their first client or have their first $10,000 month, or consecutive $10,000 month. Like, it's the coolest thing in the world. I always say that we get paid twice as coaches. You get paid with a paycheck, which is awesome, but you also get paid when someone comes up to you and says, I just got my first client. I just lost 20 pounds. At my gym, there's a guy who's he's like in his 60s, and he lost 100 pounds over a span of a while, but like a huge impact was because of our gym. And I saw the owner of the gym, Amanda, she was just so proud and so happy. And I'm like, I know exactly how you feel. And that's the second payment that we get. So quick recap, 3 overlapping loops. Do you have experience with it? Are people actively paying money in this to try and figure this thing out? And also, do you actually like working with people on this? Do you enjoy it? Does it fill your cup to help people in this area and help them solve this problem? If you can get those 3 things looped together and like check off those boxes, then you have a very profitable idea. So once we get that and you're like, okay, my thing like checks off all the boxes, then we just want to create a simple sentence. And this is like your elevator pitch. I don't know about you, but when I go to like a networking event or I'm speaking on stages and people are like, oh, what do you do? And people have this like, blah, 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 blah. And they do this like very rehearsed elevator pitch. I'm like, I don't know. It just feels cheesy to me. I'm very big on like authenticity and just like feeling natural. So a simple elevator pitch that I think works way better is I help specific person get specific result. So if I'm a man over 40 and I've checked off the boxes in the income intersection, then I go to, let's say, a men's group, and I'm out at this thing and I'm listening to speakers or connecting with guys, and there's men over 40 there, and we're hitting it off, and they're like, oh, like, so you have a business, what do you do? And I'm like, yeah, so I help men over 40 get lean and stay lean year round, and I coach people on that every single week. Then they're like, ooh, because they can raise their hand and say, well, I'm a man over 40 and I want to get lean and stay lean year round. So it's, for me, it's like I help online coaches or experts turn their expertise into a 100K plus online business while working 20 hours a week or less. People are like, I'm a coach. I want to make that money and work fewer hours. And it kickstarts a conversation where you can start to ask more questions. And that's what leads to results.
So you're talking a lot about this 20 hours. And another line I noticed that you hang your hat on is hustle and grind is lazy. I love that. Help us be less lazy. How can we start? I confess to working over 40 hours a week. It used to be a lot more. I've been cutting back a little, but how do you become more efficient and not just grind continually? Because a lot of speakers do that a lot, and it is hustle and grind. Like, I don't want anybody to think I'm saying here there's no work to it, right? You just do it. There's work, but how do you do it efficiently?
Yeah. So there's 2 principles that allow us to do that have been life-changing for me. And I learned these from my mentor, Graham Cochran. He taught me about how hustle is actually lazy. And I'm like, what the heck does that mean? Yeah. But it's true. A lot of people think that if I just work more and just do more stuff, then I'm going to make more money, which like in theory is true. I mean, you make money because like if you think about me versus my friend who plays guitar, he's so good at guitar. I like barely know how to make a note because he's just put more time into it than I have. So that is a natural thing. If you put in 10,000 hours, you're going to be better than someone who puts in 100. But I do not like aimlessly working or working for the sake of working. And I think that's a really big distinction. What you choose to do is going to dictate the results that you have. So you should be very particular about what you're doing. I'm a fan of striking the stump rather than whacking at the branches. Okay, it's a lot more efficient. So the way that we figure out like, okay, what's the stump? What are the things that I actually have to do? We have two productivity principles that are life-changing. The first one is the Pareto principle. So the 80-20 rule, very well-known thing, but it's just, if you don't know what it is, 80% of the results you get come from 20% of your efforts. So if you have like a bunch of apps on your phone, you probably only use 20% of the apps 80% of the time. Your clothes, I have to go through my clothes because it just keeps filling up, but I only wear like 5 shirts in my wardrobe, you know?
It's so true.
You only, and it's just human nature, which is fine. We have to be aware of that though. So the same thing applies to your business. Like I used to post on social media every single day and try and be on every single platform all the time. But then I realized that, my podcast and YouTube are bringing in money and I like making those. So what if I just doubled down on those things? I doubled down on them and I went from making 30K a year to 100K the next year by doing less. Okay. So you focus on the thing, like a powerful phrase is do more of what's working. And you have to figure out like what is working, what is actually generating me income. And if you're posting on LinkedIn every day, I know Lee, you do well with LinkedIn, but it makes sense for your business. Let's say you're posting on Instagram for Lee. It's like you've been doing that for 2 years, doing the thing, and you haven't made a single dime. It's like maybe you should stop doing it, because that takes energy. And just looking at the facts. And I think a great exercise is just to write down everything that you do on a day-to-day basis and be like, is that bringing in money? No, cut it out. That's it. And just eliminate it. And there's some things where like, with public speaking, getting speaking gigs. I used to do a lot of public speaking when I first started. I was calling up places and I'd call up a bunch of places. Like I'd land one speaking gig and then I get a $5,000 client, which is awesome. So I was like, okay, it was worth it, but it was still just a lot of work and it's a grind. But I can outsource. If it's like that thing brings in money, I just don't like doing it. But it's like I have to do it for my career. That's where I hire someone like Lee, who can manage these things for me or help me with this or do some aspect that's like important, but I don't need to or want to do it. I need to be on the stage, but I don't need to be going back and forth and calling up places per se. You know what I mean? So yeah, when you eliminate things, then you can think about, is there anything I can automate here or can I delegate things? And that is how you can kind of like better implement the Pareto principle. But yeah, focus on the few things that bring in the most income and just double down on those. The second principle is called the Pareto, what is it? It's Parkinson's law. Pareto principle, Parkinson's law, which states that work expands to fill the time you give it. So I mentioned earlier that I was like, I want to make 100K and I want to do it in 20 hours a week. And that's what I'm going to give myself because I figured out how I could make 100K in 20 hours a week. The strategy to do that is very different than how do you make 100K in 80 hours a week. It's different. You have to think about, what do I need to do? Because I'd rather make 100K in 20 than 80 any day of the week, But you have to think about the Pareto principle of like what's actually bringing in money. Like increasing my prices was really big because I could work with fewer people and make more money. But also just understanding the few tasks that actually bring in the income and then condensing the time frame, giving myself timelines or deadlines that I had to meet, which is Parkinson's law. It's like if your professor gives you an assignment and says, okay, you have 3 months to finish this. then you're like, oh, okay, I'm probably going to take the entire 3 months. I'll do it at the last minute. We've said, hey, you have 3 days to finish this. I'm like, okay, same project, same amount of work. Somehow miraculously, you get it done in 3 days. That's the Parkinson's law at work. So between Parkinson's law and the Pareto principle, you can work a lot less because it forces you to focus on what is absolutely necessary for me to do this. People just spend so much time doing busy work because they feel that that's productive, but it doesn't mean it's productive if it's not producing the result. Like I can post on Instagram every day or LinkedIn for me. I've never really done well with LinkedIn. So why should I keep putting my energy into it if I know that it doesn't bring in money, but these other things do? I'd rather put that same energy into the few things that do bring in more money. See what I mean?
Absolutely. No, I think I'm already going mentally saying, what am I doing? I'm just filling time sometimes. So I think after today's conversation, I'm cutting down my work schedule, working more efficiently.
Yeah. Well, I mean, think about yourself, Lee. It's like, I don't know how many hours you work, but like you put in a lot of work. You're also managing a lot. And the way that we build our business is going to dictate how much energy we have to put in, like 20 hours versus 80 hours. To build a 20-hour-a-week business is a totally different strategy. It's different things you have to focus on than 80 hours. So if you cut your work hours in half right now, you would have to be like, oh, wow, like I really have to think about what is absolutely necessary, or I might need to bring on help. If some things like still just require that amount of work, you can hire an assistant to help you with that. Then you'd have to train, it creates more moving parts, but
Sure.
We just need to think about, or maybe the way that you're doing something, you realize there's a way more efficient way. Like for me, for example, with my YouTube channel, and my videos, like I got this tablet, which I'm super pumped about, and I keep talking about it. But now I can make YouTube videos instead of me trying to have my VA or me trying to like manually create graphics inside of the editing timeline. I just record the screen and just doodle out like my income intersection or the different frameworks and ideas. And I just make a simple cut and that's it because it's recorded on the tablet. So it's the way that I'm doing it is way more efficient now. You see what I mean?
Absolutely. No, I know when I personally become more efficient, it's usually by hiring someone to do something I don't love doing, but has to be done.
Yep.
So, no, I agree. I just have to think about what are more things that I can do that can be sent out to allow myself to become more efficient. Because yes, do I work a lot of hours? I do. But that's because I'm the only one who takes the calls, and my calls can be whenever. I was speaking to a wonderful gentleman in Taiwan this morning. By that also means I start at 7 a.m. because it's already his 7 p.m. But now I might have somebody in another time zone that I'm catching later today. Maybe they're in California. I'm in the New York area. I've got to accommodate them. But I love the idea of, it's okay to hire help to
totally
be more efficient or to cut out those things you don't have to do. So, all right, let's hop back to speaking because I know you used to be on stage and you had told me that you had a specific structure to your speaking in order to even make speaking efficient. Can we talk about that?
Yeah. I haven't spoke on like a physical stage in quite a while. It's been years at this point. I do a lot of speaking, but it's online. I host
workshops. And the speaking online can have a similar structure. It can.
Yeah, totally.
So
yeah. But back in the day, like I didn't know this stuff when I first started. It would have been a lot better if I did know. So when I'm making content, like I speak every week when I make my YouTube videos, you know what I mean? And if I did get thrown up on a stage, which happens sometimes, I would teach in the same kind of way. So depending on where your audience is at, I mean, I know you probably have a mixed bag of like newer people, but also very seasoned speakers. And if you've been in the speaking space for any time, you've probably heard the phrase that never tell a point without sharing a story and never share a story without giving a point. They work hand in hand. So when I teach a point, like a YouTube video, let's say, there is a structure that I follow with each point that I teach. And it's really simple. It's hook, story, framework. That's what I teach. And the reason that I do that is because I'm sharing stories and teaching framework. So let me just unpack each one. So the hook is when you say something that hook someone's attention. And with YouTube content and just even speaking, like people's attention spans are so slim nowadays that they're so distracted all the time. So when you hook their attention, it like, or rehook it, then you get their attention. That's why it's called a hook, because I'm like, it's like catching a fish. We have to, like, the two easiest ones, because there's like so many types of hooks that you can say, but you say something that prompts like a question inside of someone's mind. And the best way to prompt a question is to ask a question. Okay. So a hook that I could say in terms of like, 20 hours a week, 100K, I'm like, what if you could work 20 hours a week and make twice the amount of money that you're making right now? If I say that, people are like, what if? That'd be kind of interesting. And it's in you say, now I'm listening. If I spoke to a bunch of people at NASA who are like, scientists, which I don't know, I have no right being on that stage, but if I did, they might be like, that's kind of cool, but like, we don't care. You have to understand your audience. The more you understand your audience, the easier it is to create hooks, to create products, because like what frustrates them. What do they want? I know that my audience wants three big things. They want more income, they want more impact, and they want more freedom. That's it. So I just know by talking to tons of them, the different like experience and stories they have around that. So you hook their attention, ask a question, or you can say a bold statement. And it gets people's attention. The other one, after you've like grabbed their attention, I go into I can pull up an example of this too. I go into a story. And the story is so important because stories, one, retain people's attention very well. We are naturally drawn towards stories. The other reason that stories are powerful is because you get a chance to show your expertise. I believe that experts speak from experience. When people hear the stories and the nuance and struggles that I've had with my first sales call, like I share that story. I think I told you, Lee, about my story of when I spoke at Rotary and I was like paying all this money and I'm like, this is such a waste of time. Like, nothing's coming from this. And I'm paying money that I don't have to these people that book me on Rotary stages. And this guy comes up and really well-dressed dude is like, hey, I really enjoyed your talk. I was 23 talking about confidence. And then he invites me to go speak at Mass Mutual because he was the president of this branch at Mass Mutual. And I'm like, are you serious, dude? He's like, I want you to deliver that same exact talk. I'm like, my confidence talk? Okay. So I ended up being super late because I didn't account for traffic. It was incredibly embarrassing. And I show up and the dude is not happy. And I do my presentation in front of these board of executives. There's like 8 people in the room. 23 years old, talking about confidence. And then I'm like, this is so ridiculous. I make my offer for a strategy session and nobody budges. And I'm just like, yep, kind of figured that was going to happen. And then afterwards, like we end the meeting and I'm kind of just saying, hey, like, thanks for being here and all that kind of stuff. And this guy comes up, tall dude named Kevin. And he was like, hey, I really enjoyed your talk and I'd love to sit down on a call with you. He was a vice president of this branch at Mass Mutual, ends up becoming a $3,000 client. And I was 23. You share stories like that and it's like, wow, that's a cool story. But also it shows that like I've been in the weeds and this is when I was 23 and like the courage that it took to just show up. Like I could have just not done it or been like, that's it, like given up. Like I have so many stories because of my journey and it connects you with your audience, but it also shows that expertise. Or if you share stories of your clients. So it's like personal stories or client stories. When I share stories about my clients like Jason, who knew nothing about business or marketing, and I got him his first client from YouTube it was a $3,000 client at 12 videos and 58 subscribers because he just followed my system. Like, ooh, this guy knows something about YouTube that I don't. I want to get results like Jason. And then at 19 videos, he had already passed over $20,000 and 1,000 subscribers. And he knew nothing about this stuff. He was just good at the thing he did, which was futures trading. So you share those stories and then you land the point by teaching a framework. Like when I share that story about Jason, then at the end, I can share the framework and the strategy that we took him through to get that result. That makes a very compelling talk that doesn't just like add value to your audience, but it also boosts your credibility to where people at the end are like, I got to talk to this guy. or I need to work with her. You know what I mean? So hook, story, framework, that's kind of the way that I think about structuring your points specifically. If you're going to teach like 3 points in a video, each one would follow that same structure.
And then I know your last thing is call to action. And I want to preface this before I let you talk about it, that depending on where you are speaking and if you're being paid or not, and the type of stage and the type of business, you may not give a call to action from the stage. Because that's considered now selling from the stage. As soon as you say, contact me to buy this or follow up, you can't do that. So I'm not saying to follow this on stage, depending on where you are. Now, some stages allow it, but most times the call to action is going to come from next to the stage. You're going to wow the audience, and then there's going to be this line of people who want to meet you, and now there can be a call to action. So with that preface, I know none of this helps without some sort of call to action. Why is that important, and how do we do it?
Yeah, absolutely. This is where the money is made. And I've had many speakers, big and small, on my podcast, like Kevin Surace. Kevin is like, if I'm getting paid $3,000 for a stage to speak on a stage, I ain't doing it. I'm like, I'd be down for $3,000 to speak on a stage. You know, he's like, he gets paid tens of thousands of dollars to speak on stages because of who he is and how good of a speaker he is. I've had many other people too who make money, and we've talked so many times about how do you make money with this. And what's interesting is that everybody wants to go for the big keynote where they get paid to speak on the stage and stuff. And I've had many people who are like, yeah, I've done plenty of those. I've made way more money doing the small stage off to the side or in like the back of the event or a small little panel. And then from that, generating interest and then generating income, just like Lee had said. And yeah, you're totally right. Some places you really have to double check, like they don't want you selling from the stage. Yeah. But what you can do, and in my experience, it's never been an issue, is ask them, like, can I offer them something that's going to like complement my talk, or, you know, it's free. And they 9 times out of 10 will always say yes, but definitely make sure like you're not crossing any weird boundaries and stuff. So what I would do is offer like a free session with me, or you can kind of position it of like I can do a free website and funnel review if I just talk about building out funnels. Like, hey, if you want, I'm happy to just gift this to you. It's my gift to you. Or if I do a big talk on YouTube, I can be like, hey, I want to offer you guys a YouTube channel audit. Sometimes that can be like, no, you can't even do that. It's like, okay, well, what do you do then? If you follow that framework that I talked about earlier of like hook, you do stories, and then you teach them a framework that pays off that point, that is going to generate a lot of interest in people to where they're going to be like, this dude knows something, or this girl's like, I don't know, something about her and the confidence she has and like the frameworks make sense. And then your call to action could be like, hey, come up to me, ask me any questions, or like, let's just chat. That's inviting people to like come up to me. Some speakers are weird. Some people are like, don't talk to me. I get off the stage, I like immediately run off the stage, create opportunities. I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned over the years. The more opportunities you create, the more conversations you have. The more conversations you have, the more chances you have to present an offer. The more offers you make, the more money you make. That's how it works. So yeah, invite people over, and then that strikes up the conversation. And then, you know, if you did the talk well, it should be very natural where they're like, hey, when you talked about this, that was so amazing. And then you can get curious about them and try and figure out like, okay, this person came up to me, they probably want help with something, and then see how can you invite them or just really ask them, like, do you want more help with this? And it's very nonchalant. Like, do you want more help with that? And try and get to the point by asking questions to that question. Do you want more help with this? And they'll say yes, or they could say no, which is fine. But if they say yes, then it's like, awesome. Let's book a call and I'll meet you next week. Or we can sit down after this or something. And then it creates an opportunity where you can diagnose their situation and present an offer.
And I love the other point you made, which I just want to reiterate here, which is there are the big keynotes and there are the side halls. The big keynote does usually pay the bigger fee, and it gets you the whole audience. But I've also found that the side rooms, while they pay less and have fewer people, get the right people in the room. So those people are often self-selecting. and you might only have 20 or 30 people in the room, but they're the people who came to hear exactly what you want to say, versus the keynote, which is everybody goes, right? It's the general session. You just go. But not necessarily everybody's there to hear you. They're there because it's part of the event. So small rooms are not a bad thing.
Not at all. Yeah. And the biggest thing is like what you just mentioned. I think a lot of people don't put enough consideration into this. Who you're talking to is so important. Making sure that you're in the right room. Like if I'm a man over 40, if my whole thing is I help men over 40 get lean and stay lean year round, I'm thinking, how do I get in front of more men over 40? Because the more conversations I have with men over 40 who want to get lean and stay lean or are remotely interested in it, the more opportunities are going to come up where I can talk about what I do. And they're going to be like, can you help me with that? Or can we chat more about this? And you're like, yeah, totally. Let's sit down on a call. And then you can show them how you can help them. Again, no tech, no funnels involved, just conversations. Super simple. You are the product. When you're coaching, you speak and you're like, I want to coach people. It's like, okay, why do you need to build some giant funnel? You just need to have the right conversation with the right person and have an offer that's compelling to them because it actually solves their problem. And it like simplifies the problem that they have and they can see it. And it simplifies, I guess, the solution better. And then they book a call with you or they sign up for the program and you just invite them in and then you meet with them every week or every month or whatever you want to do for your program. That's a whole different topic, you know, but like, that's all it really takes to work with people.
So you have come a long way since being a spiritual self-help guru that you were at 23.
Sure.
Probably phrasing it a little bit wrong, but you know what I mean. So you've come a long way. You've learned a lot of stuff. But if there was one thing, James, one thing that you could go back and tell that 23-year-old that this is the one thing that you should really know that it took me a lot of years to learn.
Yeah.
What would that be?
Stop wasting time on funnels and products and building a bunch of stuff and really focus your time on conversations and making offers. That's it. The more offers you make, the more money you'll make. It's okay if people say no. I'm fine with people saying no. I made an offer to someone. If people say yes, that's amazing too. I don't like the wishy-washy middle. I'm like, make a decision. If it's no, it's fine. It's just not the time right now. It's totally okay. But if you really want to do this, like, let's make it happen. And you learn, I just wasted so much time because I was hiding behind my computer. I was hiding behind it, trying to build like the perfect ebook or stuff. And I never talked to people. But when you talk with people, you like figure out, who do I want to help? What do I want to help them do? Start working with them, even if it's for free, because you learn so much about them and what they want, what they don't want, what they're afraid of, their objections, their uncertainties, their dreams and desires. And all of that helps you create something that would actually help them. And then you make more offers. You test ideas faster. The worst thing is when you spend months building something and you put all this energy into it and then you put it out there and nobody buys it. Why? Because you were just guessing. Compared to if you actually work with people. That's like inside of my coaching program. The first thing that we do, for a couple reasons, is get people coaching clients. We figure out, who do you want to help? What do you want to help them do? We understand the audience more. We get into conversations, we prioritize conversations, and then you start making offers. Before we ever touch funnels, they make money faster, but they also learn more about their audience where they can create something more scalable down the road, like a group program or a course or a membership or something like that. Everybody wants passive income, but you should focus on active income first, and that's going to help you actually make the passive income later. And I did the opposite, like most people do when I first started. So if I could go back and slap myself in the head, that's what I would tell them.
And if people need help with this, because a lot of listeners are looking for coaching programs, how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, totally. So I have a totally free training. It's a good place to start. If you go to profityourknowledge.com/training, this is a presentation that I did. It was actually a 5-day challenge, and I'm calling it the Profit Your Knowledge Challenge. So if you're like, I need to figure out like the income intersection, I want to actually see it if I'm on the podcast, I have that framework along with many others that I teach you throughout the 5 days. And it's just a really good place to get started, spend some more time with me. It is on demand, but you can always email me. And I encourage you to, if you're like, hey, I came up with my sentence or my offer, like, can you just check it out? Just email me. That's fine. It's james@profityourknowledge.com. My YouTube channel is a great place to go. But if you just go to Google and type in Profit Your Knowledge, I will pop up. And then there's many ways where you can get connected with me.
Well, thanks for coming today. And anybody who'd like to get in touch with me to talk about your speaking, please check out pathtothemainstage.com. And I'll see you next time with another great co-host. Thank you, James, so much for coming today. Thanks for listening to Path to the Main Stage. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And for full video episodes, check out YouTube. If you want to be a successful speaker, you need to make it happen. My co-hosts and I are here to help guide you. But if you need more help, please check out pathtothemainstage.com where we can connect. And until next time, keep sharing your voice, keep showing up, and keep taking your path to the main stage.